prospective listeners and viewers. Welcome back with your two favorite co-hosts. This is Perspectives with
Lisette.
and Martina. And yeah, thank y'all for tuning in. I can't remember where this video is falling in the lineup. Listen, we are filming this on Sunday. And I just can't recall it right now. So y'all will probably see this video probably in about 2 or 3 weeks. I think maybe you might see this video. You'll be seeing
From
this.
when we record, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
from when we record. Listen to her. That's right. And so really, we don't have a guest today. It's
No.
just us two, and we wanted to take some time because if you have been following us, we did a video not too long ago. It may have been a month now, maybe give or take.
I think so.
Been a month? Okay. We did a video about dating while fat or dating while being a big girl, however you want to define yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what we did a video on. And we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
So it's so interesting, that we revisited this issue and just had some updated things we wanted to talk about. And this will probably still be an ongoing thing that we talk about this throughout the podcast. And listeners and viewers, honey, okay, this is the most comments that we have ever received for a video or any sort of recording came from this video. And again, if you've been listening and watching us and following us for a while, we talk about a lot of deep stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just fascinated both of us that
Yes.
of all the things that we've talked about, this is the one that elicited the most comments and most views, I
And
think.
most
Yeah,
views, yes.
most views is from this video. And let's say, go ahead, girl, and pitch in.
No, I mean, just to continue what you were saying, I mean, I remember I remember perfectly when I realized that we had comments and then views were coming in. Um, and it was it was a Thursday morning, and Thursday's usually the week that we publicize and we have an episode live. Thursday usually when I check in just to see how the video or the podcast, links are doing and just kind of have an idea. Those that do podcasts know you kind of just check what the reach has been and all that. So it's Thursday morning and I go and all of a sudden I see like you have I think it was like 6 comments and I was like, oh my goodness, 6 comments. I was like, I wonder what they're saying. And it was just, I mean, some things were like mean or sort of on the meaner side of things. And I was like, oh no. And then I started seeing that the view count on it. I was like, we don't have a huge following. So I was like, when the view started, I started seeing that it was
Definitely
just,
notice.
I was like, oh, I'm like, where is this? And it was just one of those moments where I was like, people have a lot of thoughts or interest about 2 women talking about dating while fat.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, and I remember that I just screenshotted some things and I sent them to Martina that morning, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, look at what people are saying! Like, this is what's going on. This is the response to the video." And to what you just said, Martina, like we have talked about, white supremacy in healthcare. We've talked about police brutality. We've talked about white supremacy in the workplace. Like all these things that, are very, social issues and deep. And not that dating while fat isn't a social issue, but it just wasn't what I thought was going to be the one that we would get. Um, just comments and feedback and very just attacks on
Right.
women in general. I was like, but in sharing out with some like coworkers or just other friends, they were like, well, that's the thing, right? You have someone like Lizzo out in the public, and others that, are big girls, and it's the big girl kind of movement. And there's just a lot of people that have a lot of opinions
Amen
uh,
for that.
about, a big girl navigating this world and being proud of being big or being okay with being big. Maybe not just it's about being proud, it's just being okay with it and just navigating the world as you are, and without having to apologize for it. And I think so it just got me thinking about myself and, navigating this world. And not that the comments, I didn't take any of them personally, but I was really just fascinated at how much people have something to say
Mhm.
about you. Like, you and I, we talk about people always have something to say about, the color of your skin, and race. And the thing is, like, we've talked about being a plus size girl in America. We had a whole series, y'all,
We had a series about it. I had a whole
about it.
series last year. Yeah.
But I think it really was because we put it out here, dating while fat, and it's sort of this, I don't know if it's just seen as a taboo for a fat woman to be out here dating or talking about it and putting themselves out there, like, or just like how, because I mean, if we want to get into some of these comments where like, you know, some people were like, oh, guys are just not attracted to unhealthy people. And I'm like, uh, what makes you think
What makes
that a
you
big
think that?
girl is unhealthy?
Right.
Where did that come from?
It's very just like and again, I don't know if these are real people, these are bots,
That's
but
right.
it don't fucking matter. But it is true that that comment is like someone said, "Oh, in the time that it took you to record this video, you could have been at the gym." Well, MF, how you know that I wasn't just at the gym, or am I going to the gym afterwards? And I think that's again, like you said, I wasn't really so much upset about the comments because you sent them to me that Thursday morning. I think I had literally just woken up and
Yeah,
getting
it was
ready for
early in the
work.
morning. It wasn't
It was
even.
like in the morning, early in the morning. And I was just like, because at first I think I saw the screenshots come first, and then you were like, "This is what people are saying." And again, and even our family and friends are like, "Y'all are taking this in stride," but it's like I'm not really upset
Mm-mm.
that listen, this is a free country, people can express themselves however they feel to do, but it's just the ignorance behind it. And I know here on our podcast, like we say we don't know everything, but this is a show about our perspectives. That's the fucking
Mhm.
name. It's our perspectives. We may come with research and we may read a book, and every now and then and we have guests on that are experts, that
Yeah.
are professionals in their field. We may not be that, but you come into the show knowing this is our fucking perspective. You don't like it? There's the door. Right there. There's the door. You can leave. You don't like
Literally.
it. And so the thing is just interested how narrow-minded people are thinking is like that fat people, big girls, big guys, whatever, do not work out because they do. And I know we talk about Lizzo and use her as an example a lot, but she is a really great example of a
Yeah.
woman of color who is a bigger woman who's not a size 5 out here and who has a large following. And people are so upset about that. And I think that's a lot of the elements that we took with these comments is that you're upset about two people's weight or women who are bigger, because it's more geared towards women than men, then you
Mhm.
are about white supremacy. Then you are about like capitalism. And I don't know if
Yeah.
it's maybe because those issues are so far out of reach for people to be able to change or make a difference around.
Mhm.
And this is just something that's easier for people to attack. Perhaps I don't know the reasoning, but
Yeah.
it's a lot of very narrow-minded thinking. Just because somebody is big that they're not working out, they're not healthy, they might have this condition or this illness or whatnot. Yes, there are big people, but there are also small people who have those conditions as well who don't work out. And
Mhm.
of course, life may not be so hard for them to navigate because they are someone that's smaller, but you don't know. And so these assumptions about people that again you never met, you probably may never meet us. It just really was kind of mind-boggling how upset that people got about what we talked about. To me, that's just like it was just again like psh, like mind blowing.
And how opinionated they were
Yeah.
about the whole thing. And I also like because I'm thinking back to the actual episode and what we talked about it and why we wanted to bring it up. Um, and I feel, I mean, again, we don't know if these are bots, real people, whatever, but whoever they are or whatever they really represent society and
Yeah.
what society thinks. And I'm like, you kind of proved our point about how society is socialized to look at bigger people. Um, and how we are either demonized, we're stigmatized, all these things because there's this ideal body type and this ideal healthy, you know, whatever it might be. But, you know, it's not realistic. Like, these aren't realistic expectations. And I'm like, so when I was reading this and kind of just kind of thinking, you know, as time went by, I was like, y'all really just proved the point that Martina and I were talking about of just society has socialized us to think of not just weight. I mean, think about race,
Mhm.
think about just a lot of different things, you know, about just people, ethnicities, countries. You know, we have this whole idea of like places being crappy because they're third world countries. And it's like, oh, you know, we probably need to revisit this whole idea of a third world country, like, or what, you know, what you deem as ugly or poverty versus how people who live there actually see their world or things like that. Like, it's just the way particularly American society
Mm. Yes.
has really sort of really just conditioned and sort of created these um ideal, whether it's scenario, ideal countries, ideal people, ideal weight, and on and sort of what women should look like, what attractive is on a woman versus what it's not. So it kind of, it really just reading through these comments just was like, you all are sort of proving our point that we were trying to make in our episode, in that episode of just how hard it is to be a big girl um in this society. And we'll talk about just the United States um in general, because it was just, and that's what fascinated me, where it was like, man, y'all really just missed the whole point of our video.
Really did. They really missed the whole point. Okay, I'm looking at a comment here now. I'm gonna call out names. Sean Hill. Okay.
Let's
Uh,
see.
no accountability. This podcast is a pity party, i.e., more ice cream, cookies, cakes to eat, with no mentioning of eating healthier, walking, etc., etc. It's everyone's fault except theirs. I applaud you for knowing how to use there. Okay. I blame the fork, spoon, and knives in their lives. Sean Hill also had another comment that we'll get to that he deleted a little bit
That
later.
was one of the deleted ones,
That was
yes.
one of the deleted ones. We got you, Sean. We got you. If that's your real name, I don't know.
Oh,
Um, but it's like, Sean, like, let's get into it. Why did you have to be that harsh about something? Like, why are you assuming that we're eating ice cream, cookies, cakes to eat? Sorry, cakes. Wait. Example: more ice cream, cookies, and cakes to eat. I mean, even though you got there right, there's a lot of punctuation and things that are off. But with no mentioning of eating healthier, I think we did talk about people who
but
eat.
even if we didn't,
But but even if we didn't, what the fuck is it
we were
anyway?
talking about dating while fat, like
Well,
our
fat.
experiences of dating while fat.
Dating
And that's the
fat.
thing that bothered me, because I was like, all of this has to do with how you're looking at me.
Mhm.
I'm talking about our experience while dating while fat. Like, we were talking about like how, you know, men will see you and all these things. And yeah, there's these all these things that come into play. But I was like, again, you have been socialized, conditioned, whatever, just brought to think that fat people, all they do is eat ice cream, cakes, pizza, all these things. I almost brought me a slice of pizza up here, so we be eating while we're talking.
And you love pizza too. I mean, I
I
like to.
love pizza,
You love pizza. Loves
but
pizza.
it's one of those things where it's like, we don't eat all these things.
Yeah,
Okay.
all the time.
And I'm like, and if we did, it ain't none of your
It ain't
business.
none of your business. And that's the thing. Like, people, I think just going back to what we're saying, kind of the broader issue here. People in the United States and in the world are so concerned, loosely, I don't know another word right now, about fat people. I think particularly fat women, because like you said, they
Mhm.
have these ideas of what a woman is, how she should be, whether she's ladylike or whore, whatever. And it also comes down to weight and all this too. But why is this such a concern for other people? Like, I just, to me, it's just like, honey, I'm not asking you to do anything. I'm not asking for your support. I'm not asking you to pay for medical bills if somebody does have different conditions because they are overweight. I just don't understand where all the hate comes from. And again, like I said, of all the things that we talk about on this podcast, I just feel like this is such an easy thing to attack because the
Yeah.
issues that we talk about on these podcasts is very serious. These are
Yeah.
hard issues for the country and the world to wrap their head around. And people just, it's so much easier to just attack. Oh, where they're fat. Oh, well, society already hates them for that. So let's just talk shit about them. Because to me, it just doesn't make any sense,
It's
really.
so superficial.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just superficial, and it's always easy to attack and criticize the superficial because there's really, you know, how are you just gonna come and attack, you know, race relations in the United States? How, like that's not a superficial issue.
It's not.
That's a deep issue. But I will also kind of say that fatness in America, I think, is also has some deep issues because it's
Yeah,
one of those
sure.
things where you think about, and you and I will definitely make sure to link some of the plus size in America series. I know Martina and I got into it about even
Mhm.
being a kid growing up, uh, being a bigger kid in the society, and how even as kids, they're taught to hate fatness. They're taught to make fun of fatness, and it's like, it's okay if you think, hey, being fat is unhealthy, it leads to chronic diseases, all these things, like that's not good. Fine, that's your stand, and you have valid reasons because there are studies and things about, being overweight and all these things and blah blah blah. But I was like, but if you are only making fun of a kid or you're teaching your kid or not correcting your kid around like, oh, fatness is ugly, now that's a superficial issue.
Mhm.
I was like, that's just, why are you teaching your kid to hate fatness or to make fun of another kid or not correct them if you see them when they're bullying the bigger kid? I was like, that's an issue.
Mhm.
'Cause I'm like, because that's learned behavior, the same way racism is a learned behavior. I was like, hatred towards fatness is also a learned behavior. You're not inherently like, oh my gosh, you're not gonna, be born and be like, fatness is bad. That is
Mhm.
not, or being chunky or being chubby is like, that's not inherently what we grow up, come out of the womb thinking. And that's not real. It's somehow something that gets instilled in us,
Yep.
and then you get these people commenting about like, oh, pity party, it's about being, being healthy. I was like, dude, no. I was like, you have no idea what that person's struggle has been. I was like, you have no idea what struggling with depression uh can lead
Or
you
an eating
down, or
disorder. Yeah.
eating disorder, PCOS with for women, and how that can, like, there's so many conditions that don't allow, a lot of times, a lot of women I think are the ones, I have no stats, I just have my experience and just kind of seeing women tend to be the ones that struggle with losing weight.
Mhm.
Men tend to lose weight easier and quicker. So it's like, you again, I'll say it again, you have been conditioned and socialized and taught to hate fatness.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. Like, and that's what these comments proved to me, was like, here it is. Here's the hate, here's the thing. And I'm like, and some of it could be self-hate, because
I'm gonna say yeah.
I mean, you and I have talked about this. Sometimes we go down a dark hole, and it's like, and you gotta bring yourself out of it.
Yeah, I do. I think some of this, again, like I said, we don't know if these real people bots. I'm gonna keep saying that, but
Mhm.
it is. I think sometimes people, they have a lot of self hate, and I still go back to like what, like, this is just such for people, such low hanging fruit
Yeah.
is just to make fun of people who are fat, because I think in America particularly, people are so focused on the individual. So
Yeah.
focused on the individual person in terms of whether it's they need to lose weight. Oh, why don't they make enough money at the job? Or why are they homeless? People blame the individual person so
Yeah.
much for these issues. And yeah, I know somebody gonna say, well, you know, Martina, like if they decide to eat a piece of cake or eat a whole cake compared to an apple, how is that a world's problem? But I think it's like at the same time, yes, I got a little bit of a cold, so intermission there for that. How you know, they're like, well, how is that my problem? How is that a world's problem? But like you said, a lot of this is depression. It could be anxiety, and even
Yeah.
if it's not, you know what? The world is, you know, we're not guaranteed how long we're going to be in this world. We
Yeah.
don't know when our last day are, and you know how we treat people I think is
Mhm.
very important, and you know it matters, you know, where you think you're going after you leave this world or not, whatever. But I think a lot of it, people feel like they can say these things without any consequence,
Yeah.
especially I think behind a screen in this day and age where digital bullying is a big thing.
Yeah.
And a lot of these issues, as you said, Lisette, these are issues that are taught. Like a child doesn't grow up knowing like the difference around like hate or
Hmm.
fear or things of that nature. And I think they may see a child that may be a little bit bigger than them, and they might be, hey, you're bigger than me, but I still want to play with you, you know, or something. Like they don't see like, I don't want to play with you because you're fat. You know,
Hmm.
like that's some shit they get from somebody else that is a grown
Yeah.
ass person that has said something.
Yep.
And as we know, kids pick up stuff. They pick up on a lot of things.
Yeah.
And that's something that they instinctively have to learn from somebody else. And these are issues that stay with them. And it's also what leads to also eating disorders within themselves. I think particularly for women
Yeah.
and for plus size women, a lot of people don't realize like plus size women have eating disorders as well. Like one of the content creators or social media people I follow is Tess Holiday. Like she is a bigger woman. And one thing that she struggles with is having an eating disorder. And people give her so much shit about that. They're like, how can you have an eating disorder? Because you look like this and such and that and another. But you don't know her life.
Yeah.
You know what she lets you know in front of this camera. That's what you
Yeah.
know, but you don't know how she's feeling. You don't know what's in her mind. And the thing is, I think a lot of people, and I think this is for like social media in general, people just post things and say hateful things about other people, and you don't think how it influences them as an individual. But I think the people also need to look back at themselves that are posting this. I think going back to that self hate, and why do you feel like you can get on your laptop or your phone or whatever and just say the most hateful things to
Yeah.
people? Because again, like I said, to me, I really don't quite understand it, because it's just like this is an issue that doesn't impact you at all. This is not like capitalism in America,
Right.
or this is not, you know, education. This is like not something that can infect, like I said, infect, something that can have an effect on everybody. This is a singular person.
Yeah.
And you treat them just horribly about it. But again, I think, you know, one thing Lisette and I in our professions, you know, we spend a lot of time talking about social determinants of health,
Yeah.
which is a big thing just across healthcare and public health in general. And it's really just not looking at the physical overall of a person. It's looking at all the different areas that affect their life. Well, you know, from education, transportation, food, family, whatever. It's getting out of the four walls of a clinic or a
Yeah.
hospital or hell, the four walls of your mind on what you think you know about somebody. And you start to learn how someone may have ended up ill or have this condition, whatever it may be, because hey, it may not necessarily be the physical, it may be other things that affect it. And I think again, that kind of goes back to just what we're saying overall. And but I
Yeah.
also think it comes down to the people that are leaving these comments. I don't know if they necessarily give a shit about social determinants of health. They're
Probably
just
not.
want to be evil spirited and mean. This is me.
But I think most people don't either don't care about social mental health or don't know what the term means. You explained it great. I think most people just don't care
Mhm.
because they're like, again, if it doesn't impact you, if you've never had to be in a community where you don't have fresh fruits and vegetables, where
Mhm.
you can't walk your neighborhood, because people are out here being like, oh, that Sean Hill who said walking. I was like, not everyone can just go walk in their neighborhood, and
Yep.
you know, there are safety issues, there's walkability issues. I was like, not everyone has the privilege to be able to say, hey, I'm just gonna take a stroll down my, my neighborhood and just
Neighborhood.
walk around. Some people work two jobs. Some people have to, take care of their kids when they come home from work. So all these things that really go into determining your health and your
Exactly.
well-being are not just food. And I think because we are two individuals who have work within public health and see these issues from a broader lens, like, yeah, we get it, we understand it. We're two professional women who are working, who have, responsibilities and have to do all these different things. And there's just so many other women who are in the same boat, who are just trying to do what they can and do as, work with what they have around them to make the best choices that they can. So it's like, because it was one of the comments s- asked the question, being big is a choice, question mark.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of people were like, yes, it is. Like, whose fault is it? It's the individual's fault. And I go back and I challenge people to really think about what that really means. Because I was like, again, we mentioned, you know, what is around your environment? What is around your neighborhood? Do you have spots where you can go get salads? If you're a busy person and you can't, make salad at home, or you're just like, hey, I need to grab something quick on my way home. Is that even around you? Do you have places where you can maybe get like fresh squeezed juices and different juices that
Get
kind
to a
of,
smoothie. Something.
get you a smoothie, or what other things? Or do you just have fast food chains
Mhm.
around you, or places where you just can't get, healthy food? Maybe you don't have a grocery store in your neighborhood, and you don't have the ability to either walk or even drive somewhere. Public Getting to a grocery store in public transportation will take you a total of 4 hours because it's 2 hours to get there and 2 hours to come back. Like, there's all these things that go into people's health, and just people's weight, and what determines someone's ability to really make those choices. And let's be honest, the food that's consumed in the United States of America, processed foods, packaged foods, things that we do have access to, there's studies out here that show that some
Yeah.
of these things are addicting,
Mhm.
and that you just, that they're addicting, that they're bad for you. Like, but the thing is, they could be all those things, but if that's all you have access to in your neighborhood, that's all you can eat. So I'm like, so sometimes being big is maybe not a choice.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like, sometimes it's just all you have, and you're just hoping for the best, and you're hoping to be able to move up in this world so that you can afford to get the food that you really want to eat, or the healthy food that people are telling you to eat, or the exercise that you need to be getting, all these different things. So I'm like, and it really made me think, like, I don't think that being big is always a choice. Because I'm like, there's medications that sometimes, you know,
Yep.
side effect is, hey, you're gonna gain weight or you can't lose any weight.
And,
There's, like you mentioned, health conditions. We talked about that. About health conditions that we have, and that don't don't allow us to lose weight and all these things. So it's like, it's not always a choice. Like, you just can't be, again, blaming the person. And then another thing that you talked about, with, like, we were just talking about, like, the learned kind of hate towards fatness and big people. I was like, media, the the media that we consume, and how much, I mean, I can think about cartoons, growing up, that always made fun of the bigger cartoon character, TV shows, the big person was always the the person that got the jokes, or was the butt of the joke.
attractive one, something.
And,
Something.
or like, or always was like the sidekick to the attractive person, or
Yeah.
if there was two female friends, you'd always had a big one and a skinny one. The skinny one always got the attention. The big one was always the one that was the silly, was falling or giving you laughter. So I think, again, I mean, all of these things, people missing the point, whether you're bots or not. I think just you have to dig in deeper into these things. Like, this isn't, and that's what I meant was, like, this isn't just a superficial issue. There's just so many ways that fatness has been stigmatized and continues to be. I mean, there's still a lot of TV shows,
Hmm.
movies out here that kind of make fun of fatness, or take the big girl and the way you make them prettier is to make them skinnier. Like, that's
Like that
um,
solves all your issue. Listen, you can be fucked up skinny, you can be fucked up big. It don't matter. People think because they think fucked up people only exist with the negative people of society, or how society views negative people. That
yeah.
is absolutely not true.
So it's just so. I mean, I think that's why, doing this episode and talking about these comments is like, y'all, it's so much more. Like, yeah,
It
we're
is.
gonna we're gonna call some of these things out and stuff, but it's like, Martina and I knew when I remember, I think one of the first things I told was like, we have to do a response video to this.
Oh yeah, you have to. It's ridiculous. Say the least. I'm about to read off another comment. Okay, John Jon. Your last name begins with an H. I'm not gonna pronounce it. So I don't want to fuck it up, because that'd be something else you're a bitch about. So he said, or I'm assuming it's a he. Oh man, these girls are a victim of propaganda.
Oh yes.
What history are we in? Like, what country are we in? We're using the word propaganda. Okay, take me back to like 5 decades ago. Anyway, we don't not like you. There's double negatives, because society said so. Our soul said so. What? What does that even mean? Our souls, and it also got me looking at Jim Lackey. Again, I don't really care how I pronounce it. Fact of the matter is that guys are attracted to healthy girls. If you're overweight, you're not healthy. The science behind that is simple. Eat healthy, fix it. Stop making excuses. What? Like,
What do I have to fix? That's my
what?
question. What fix what? Tell me,
What?
Jim.
I mean, yes,
What am I fixing?
tell me how to fix it. Or tell big girls how to fix it. Tell them
What are
this.
we
You said we
fixing
gotta
here?
eat healthy. Okay.
And I love the fact that these two men, we're assuming these are two men,
Yeah.
are speaking for men in general.
Yeah, they are.
Guys are only attracted to healthy girls. What does healthy girls
What does
mean?
healthy mean? Because
Tell me.
you're looking at somebody's physical shape. Do you like this? Okay. I'm gonna have to pick my words here, because I don't want to offend people that I care about. But okay, we're saying physically, you're talking about physically healthy, like looking at somebody's body, because just because somebody, again, like we're saying, somebody can be skinny or slender, whatever the fuck you want to call it, but they might be mentally ill. They might, God forbid, have some terminal illness. So
They
you
might have high blood pressure.
they might have high blood pressure. You know what I'm saying? Some of these things are hereditary. Okay, they just run in your family, regardless if your mom or dad was 200 pounds or 110 pounds.
Yes.
It runs in the family, and it does not matter sometimes the size of somebody. So when he says, sorry, guys are attracted to healthy girls, you mean they're like on the outside, because you don't know
Yes.
if somebody is healthy or not, and you're only looking at physical health. And again, going back to Lizzo, somebody's extremely healthy. Honey, this girl can drop down to her knees like nobody else, okay? And all of her backup dancers can too. So don't tell me these people are not physically healthy. But are we looking at, are they mentally healthy? This is the thing. Again, we're looking at somebody's physical appearance as being healthy. You don't know if they're healthy outside of a physical health. You don't know if they're healthy just based on physical appearance. So I thought that was a very stupid comment. And the fact that you said guys are attracted to healthy girls, that can mean so much.
Yeah.
Healthy can mean so much. Like I understand for you, you're talking about physical health because that's where your mind went.
Yep.
Or else you wouldn't have left this comment. And you said eat healthier. Also, that tells me how you're thinking. You're not thinking of any sort of other healthiness outside of the physical health. So again, I thought that was stupid. And John over here, we don't not like. It's so hard to read this because of
It
those.
really is.
We don't not like you because society said so. Our soul said so. What? So you tell me. So your soul. Okay. So your soul. Again, I'm trying to think how I say this. Okay. So your soul said so. So how you think and process things, again, like we said, it goes back to when you were a child. So your
Yep.
soul is telling you something based off of what something you've learned from other people that said what? I don't understand. Like, what is your soul said so? So your soul is saying not to like big girls, and you said that it's not because society said so, but you just kind of answered my question really, because you said your soul said so, but it's also based on what society says. Because if society
Mhm.
said that big girls were attractive, then your soul would be saying the same thing. I'm just kind of confused. Like, help me understand. I'm just like,
That's
I
that's
don't know.
such an interesting concept, because imagine if, you know, being big was attractive. Like, that's what society put out there.
Yes, like if that's what society was saying, yes.
I mean, to just imagine, and I feel like, because it's like, clearly you're paying attention to what society is saying, and
Mhm.
society is putting in front of you the J-Los of the world,
Yeah,
the supermodels of the world, and all these things.
all
Because
of
there's
them.
always controversy when you have plus size models, right? And again, we're not out here to offend, but some of these plus size models aren't truly plus size models, aren't truly plus size.
No.
Like, not like, and it's like, and I get it. The industry is trying, and it's trying to move that way. It's been trying for years to
Mhm.
bring in more plus size. I was like, because I remember being in high school when plus size was trying to get its movement going, and you started getting the Link Bryants of the world coming out in the stores, and you started kind of seeing that. Because I remember being in high school when that was a thing, but I was
Yeah.
like, but high school for me was many years ago.
It wasn't that
Many
long ago.
moons ago.
It ain't that long ago.
But to does not see the forward progress that we probably should be seeing, as far as acceptance of this being
Yeah.
just something that shouldn't be discussed, or something that shouldn't be like, oh my gosh, plus size woman on Sports Illustrated, oh my goodness, or plus size woman on the run, oh my god, like, it shouldn't be something that is just news headlines, all these
Yeah.
things. And we're not there because of society. Like,
Yes, exactly.
that's why we're not there.
That's why we're not there. That's
It's
what
not because the population doesn't exist. It isn't because we're not here. It's because society continues to deem it as something ugly, something that, like, is just not attractive. It's not what people want to see, or whatever society, who makes these decisions on every industry. So it's just so interesting. And I love how he was like, victim of propaganda. What propaganda? Because there ain't no propaganda towards us.
what propaganda.
Because I really want to, like, because I'm like, are you talking about Lizzo and others who are saying, hey, love who you are and where you are in this state of your life?
Because that
That's
same
the
token
propaganda.
propaganda, he mentions he can turn it back on himself and talk
I was
about
like,
more
because that's
propaganda.
not propaganda. That's just loving yourself,
Yeah.
and
And
stop.
that's the thing. People, I don't mean to cut y'all, but people be
Go
so
ahead, go
mad
ahead.
at big people for loving themselves. I think that's the thing too. They
Yeah.
want people to, anyone who doesn't fit what the status quo or what the typical person should look like, that people are so mad at
They are
folks
mad.
being happy with who they are, and
Yeah.
they try to come with different comments, these mean things, how, like I said, hiding behind screens or whatever they want to do, so they can feel validated and good about themselves. But the thing is, like I said, this didn't hurt my feelings per se. I just wanted to explore it because I think it's interesting. Like I said, a podcast where we talk about so much. This is what you have chosen. A
Yeah.
few people, a few select folks have chosen to zero in on. Because going back to JoJo's comment, JoJo said quite a few things.
They did.
This is already obvious and doesn't require a podcast to figure out. But JoJo, honey, I don't even know if you watched or listened to it. I don't really know. You might have just saw the title and just felt entitled. If you don't like it, then don't listen. That's the thing we say. Listen, you don't have to listen. This is again a wonderful thing about this country. If you do not like what we're saying or what we talk about, you don't have to watch or tune in. And to say it doesn't require a podcast to figure out, who said we're trying to figure out something? Like you said, being overweight is a huge statement as to who you are as a person. And that's why it's harder for you to date. Okay, it's a huge statement as a person because society, going back to that other one we were talking about, and you're saying it's harder to date because of that, because that is what society placed emphasis on. It's not necessarily what the person placed emphasis on, it's what society does place emphasis on. And I guess I'm just trying to figure out this. It's already obvious,
Yeah.
and doesn't require a podcast to figure out. Well, ain't nobody trying to figure out anything. I don't know. That's the part again. This doesn't make figure out what.
We
Like,
were talking about our
we're
experience.
talking about our experience, our perspective. I don't think we're trying to figure anything out. We know that society dictates how men see us. We know that. Like, I don't.
Yeah.
We just talking about it.
Exactly. You took sort of the words I like say, like we know that men in society prefer and go for what society has deemed attractive.
Right.
We're not delusional.
Ain't nobody delusional over here, honey. We ain't drink the Kool-Aid. Okay, I understand.
One of the things that I saw on TikTok maybe a few weeks ago or something, there was this one, it was a stitch. It was this girl saying that, you know, she's a bigger girl and and she's with a guy that would be like skinnier, just kind of what people would be like, oh, why is he with her? And she was saying like, you know, he, you know, despite I think she said something like, despite being overweight, you know, he loves me for this and this. And the stitch was from another man who was like, you know, you should be loved for everything that you are, not despite, you know, you being overweight here. And I'm like, that is so powerful, right? Like that is so true. Because I'm like, a lot of the times women, particularly bigger women, will say, hey, you know, despite me being overweight, you know, this or that. Or like, and I'm like, it shouldn't be despite of, like, there's nothing inherently wrong with, you know, being overweight, but because for so long we've been bombarded with images, messages, music, you know, TV, all these things saying overweight is bad, overweight is ugly, overweight is unattractive, overweight is this and that. We have to put that disclaimer, right? Despite being overweight, you know, and it sort of like reminds me of like, well, despite being Black, despite being Mexican, despite being like, we kind of like, and I'm like, man, we really continue to be dictated so much by, you know, the rules of society and sort of these things. And I just felt that was such a powerful statement that man just kind of did, like, hey, you should be loved for everything that you are, not just despite of, because I'm like, yeah, it's great that, you know, he appreciates all these different things about you, but you shouldn't have to say or put the disclaimer, despite being fat or overweight, you know, this is what he sees in me. Because I'm like, that's part of you. Like, this is part of me. Like, this isn't going anywhere, anytime soon. Like, this is, you know, this is what it's going to be. And, you know, so it's I think that if there was anything that we might want to talk about more or kind of explore more is like, what is attractiveness? Like, what does that even mean? Attractiveness means different to each person.
Right.
It doesn't mean being healthy. And this is what these comments kind of perpetuated, was like, you know, if you're not healthy is different. How you measure healthiness is different.
Yep.
Person by person. It's different country by country. Like, it's just different. So it's just very interesting. And I think when you and I finally decided we were gonna do the response video, I was like, there's just so much to unpack here. Like, there's so much more to really discuss when it comes to being uh an overweight person in America, and what that comes from, because your experience is different than mine and my experience is different than yours, but it's shaped by the same concepts that society has put out there, and all these things that society has put into existence in our, and in our world.
And I don't want anybody, although people probably would do it anyway. Don't come at being like, "Oh, y'all are making generalized statements." MF, you make generalized statements all up and through these comments, so don't come in with that shit either. Oh well, we said this, that, and another. We're just talking about you. We're not talking about no. You're talking about. It seems like everyone. That's
Yeah.
what I'm taking from it. So you already had generalizations in your comment, so we can throw some generalizations back at you too. And that brings me to one of the deleted comments. Again, from Sean Hill. Every man doesn't want to date a teenager. I think he's put like 3 exclamation points. Men want to date someone who's physically, emotionally, and spiritually healthy. Your lifestyle, in quotes, obesity, is a choice that you both have made. Don't blame men. Men are dating to whom they are attracted to. Obesity is not attractive on anyone. A generalization. Generalization. Did we talk about teenagers? I don't remember talking about men wanting to date teenagers. I'm so confused. I'm like,
I was when I read that, I definitely was very confused, and I was like,
very confused.
Maybe we mentioned ourselves as teenagers.
Maybe because
I can't. We'd have to go back and watch that.
I'm like, Sean, are you trying to out yourself about something, honey? I don't know. Like maybe that's something you got in your mind going on, honey. I don't know. I can't.
I was like, this isn't. We did not say teenagers. None of that on our podcast.
We shouldn't be talking about teenagers like this. If you're a grown ass man, you don't need to be thinking about no teenagers. I don't understand about that.
But so that was an interesting. I remember seeing it, and I was very
weird. Yeah.
By it. So I was like, we didn't talk about teenagers.
We didn't talk about no teenagers. Okay.
It didn't happen.
No.
I was like, maybe we talked about ourselves as teenagers and what we went through as teens. But yeah, that was.
And you tried to delete it, but see, that is the power of the internet. Nothing goes away.
Nothing goes away.
Nothing goes away. So
we screenshot a lot of things so that we can send it to each other. Because I remember when I saw this comment, it was one of the newer ones. It came a little after all the other ones came. I was like, oh, I gotta send this to Martina. I had to go look for it because I was like, I need to comment on some other things. And I think this is an interesting thing. Like, men want to date someone who's physically, emotionally, and spiritually healthy. You are making this broad generalization of what of men in general, like just all these things. But what makes you think that you're gonna find all 3?
Okay, because we damn sure as women can't find all 3 in men. Shit, we can't find all 3. Okay,
so that's a very tall order.
That is a very tall order. I'm gonna drink some water off of it. That is a tall order.
And again, they go back to this thing of like your lifestyle. Obesity. I don't know why he's thinking obesity is a lifestyle, but that's maybe a whole other podcast episode. And it's like, it's a choice that you both have made. I was like, excuse me, sir. You don't know anything about my choices. You don't know of anything of my life. And I think that, again, we go back to these idea of choice and overweight. And I'm not gonna rehash it because we just talked about it.
Yes.
And everything that is around us. And I think society has done a great job of making sure that people think that the difference between being skinny and fat is just the choice that you make. Like, that is what society has done a great job. Like, it is just the choices that you make. If you choose to eat the pizza or the salad, if you eat the salad, it's gonna make you skinny. I'm like, there's a lot more than that. So I mean, again, it just goes back to our point of what society has conditioned and socialized and put there. Like, I'm like, I don't know if it's just because we live and breathe this and we've been
I know, maybe I think maybe so.
on
Yeah.
this platform for a while, and if you've been following us, we talk a lot about what society has really conditioned us to, and how it impacts so many different, aspects of people's lives. And weight is such a big one. Weight, just how people see themselves, what's deemed as beautiful. I mean, you know, beauty has always been more of like, hey, blue eyes, blonde hair, fair skin, like that was the standard of
Mhm.
beauty. And you had to be, maybe a little skinny and then all these things. So that's what beauty standard is. And when the beauty standard started, kind of becoming a little more diverse, or kind of you're just kind of seeing this, it wasn't so much you need to have the blue eyes and the fair skin and the blonde hair. It was more like, oh, now you have to have this certain figure shape. Women have to just look a certain way. So it's not so much now we're looking at just, eye color, hair color, skin color. Now they added this component of like, oh, you have to be a certain body shape.
But they
But
still want that on traditionally white women,
yes,
which is
yes.
weird.
It's
Yeah.
like, but so it's just, again, we go back to what we've been talking about from the beginning. We've been conditioned a certain way, people.
Yeah, all of us have shit in some way, short, fashion, shape, whatever. We all have been conditioned.
And then he ends with, don't blame men. I don't remember blaming men specifically.
Well, men have some work to do, but we can't blame them for it because it is a societal issue.
Yes.
You have
But
to
I
at some point
will
stand up. Yeah.
but I will hold you accountable for when someone tells you a certain thing, or someone makes a comment or says like, "Hey, you might want to dig into those beliefs you have a little bit, you know, and go, and fear." Because I'm like,
Think about where that comes from. Like, why do you believe what you
yeah.
believe? You know?
So
And
it's just, again, I don't. There's just so much in my head right now.
this is a lot. It is a lot. And I think, I hope the people who have commented on this or people who have feel this certain way, um, you probably should look at your own self and realize, are you physically, emotionally, and spiritually healthy? Okay.
Whatever that means.
Whatever that means and how you define it or how you follow how society has defined it. I hope
Yes.
you are all those things for yourself, because if that's what you expect from somebody else, you need to have that within yourself. Okay.
That's yes.
So if you don't have it within yourself, don't look to somebody else to have it either. Okay. So I hope people, which they probably won't, honestly, because they're just people, just are some shitty people. It just really are. I know there are great people in this world, and I witness great people. We all do, but there's shitty people, I think, who oftentimes get more coverage than good people in the world. But I know there are good people out there. There are good men out there who don't necessarily prescribe to this type of
Yeah.
I can't think to talk, who do not necessarily prescribe to this type of ideology. And I applaud you. Hell, I applaud women who do the same, because there are certain things that as women we expect men to do. That may not always be the case. Okay. But you know what? To each their own. Good luck to you. I'm getting another Kleenex.
And on that note, I think we can really just kind of give maybe like our final thoughts on this thing, because obviously we're going to continue talking about this.
Oh yes.
We're two plus size women navigating this world as plus size women of color. Um so definitely more to come on um just being, again, we'll continue our plus size in America, dating while fat, um kind of conversations, or just, being two women of color who are fat navigating this world and sharing our experiences and our thoughts on it. uh but I mean, I think just in general, what I've appreciated about talking through this is really just the affirmation for both of us to know that, like, you know what, society has done a number on so many different things,
Mhm.
and that you know, if we can just shine a little light here and there on what we've experienced and share it, and other people can agree, can disagree,
Amen.
uh, can, you know, fight us in the comment if you want. We're not gonna fight you in the comments. We'll just do response videos.
Yeah, that's
Uh, and share opinions that way, but y'all can talk with each other. And I think that's what I encourage people to do. Like, even if the people who commented before on the other video, y'all want to come back on this video and you listen and you watch it, feel free to comment, give us your thoughts, your opinions, your perspectives. We've always shared that this is a space where we welcome other people's perspectives. You know, just don't be mean. You don't have to be mean to
You
give
don't
your
have to
perspective.
be mean. You could a lot of these people could have said exactly what they needed, exactly these same things in a much nicer way, in a much nicer way. Because I
Yes.
understand, yes, obesity may be a problem in this country. And yes, that is a fact. There's a
Yeah.
study that is a fact. But how
Yes.
you approach people about that, you do need to be careful because you don't, again, like we've been saying, you don't know someone's situation. And to come on here and just attack people, you really need to watch what you say and just how that impacts people. And maybe again, folks don't care. I think a lot of these people don't care. But I do want to thank the people
Yeah.
that have, even if they haven't commented. I think there were a few people that said nice things or they
Exactly.
disagreed with the
Yeah.
comment. I appreciate you and I appreciate your feedback and your support. Because again, like we said, we focus on the negative things so much, we don't always focus on the positive. But just want to give a shout out to people who are in our corner and who have said nice things. It is not gone unrecognized.
So, with all of that, you know, if you are a plus size woman listening to this or watching us, we appreciate you. You are beautiful,
Amen.
not despite, not anything. You are beautiful just the way you are.
More.
We all are. Um, and I just encourage you to, you know, in your journey, you know, continue being the strong, independent individual you are. And, you know, we are right there with you in this journey, in this
Yeah,
fight. Sometimes it feels like a fight.
yeah, it is.
um, and to those that are just our followers or listeners, whether you're a longtime follower or a new listener, thank you for joining us on another episode, another conversation. We look forward to continuing this conversation and bringing you more conversations on other topics. So again, thank you. Make sure you're following us, whether it's Instagram, Facebook. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you can get notified when these episodes are live. Make sure you rate us on Spotify, iTunes, or whatever podcast platform you listen to us. And we appreciate you, and we will talk or see you next time.
Bye.